From surgically modified bodies to becoming a millionaire in a day business, do we even know what's real anymore? Every day we are faced with the next best thing when we're just trying to become healthier, wealthier, and happy. What the fuck is real? What the fuck is true? What the fuck are you supposed to believe about yourself and your success while trying to build something that actually lasts? Welcome to What the Fuck is Beauty Anyway, the podcast. I am your host, Jen Carrasco, founder of Virago Studio, a fitness champion, IFBB pro figure competitor, a skincare line creator, and a serial entrepreneur. Well, and I'm an overall business coach. After years of building businesses from the ground up, I am here to help you with society standards and, well, to use your beauty within to build something that is truly you and truly impactful. So now let's dive in. Hey guys, it's Jen Carrasco here with What the Fuck is Beauty Anyway, with my amazing girlfriend, but also she is a Apex executive family member. So I thoroughly want to introduce her. I'm going to let her introduce herself and give a little bit of spiel about who she is and what she does. But before we get to know her, I want you to please like, review, share. The more you can share, the more you can review, the better we get and the better I can actually get everybody that is an amazing being on my show out into the world. So with that said, I am bringing on the amazing Brenda. So I'm going to let her go ahead and introduce herself.
Well, hi, how are you?
I'm good.
That's good. Thanks for having me on. My name is, I go by Brenda, the HR lady. It's a lot easier than saying my last name, which is Neckvatal. You can find me over on BrendaTheHRLady.com. I'm kind of all over the place. I'm an international award-winning human resource professional. I've been in the people business gig for about 23 years now. I just work with companies to help solve their most complicated, outrageous, wild people challenges. I'm also I'm becoming a serial entrepreneur. I run 2 other companies as well. I do a lot of work in the Navy SEAL community, and I work with transitioning veterans coming out of Naval Special Warfare and Special Ops through the Honor Foundation as a coach. I've been doing that for 5 years now, when that started here on the East Coast. And any chance there's an opportunity I can volunteer in the SEAL community, I will, for whatever. Happy to ante up and go do it. And I love it. I love the community. I joined Apex at the end of January. Yeah, you and I started talking in January about it, and came in and have just been lit ever since. I mean, it's been 4 months total.
Yeah. Wow.
And
that long already.
I have gotten more done in 4 months since I started this journey with Apex than I have in a year.
We make you own your shit. That's why.
Well, I always own my shit, but there's just something different. No, but there's just something different. And I'm not in a river swimming upstream anymore. I'm in so it's different of getting your shit done and not having like-mindedness. Like, you're always battling the negative, or as we call it, the force of average, right? We're always battling that. Somebody, even though they don't say it, they're always in their mind, they're like, yeah, and they're going to poo-poo it, right? Mm-hmm. You don't have that here. Everybody here gets it done. Every single person.
Yes.
Done. And if they don't, they're not a fit and they'll drop, or they'll be yanked, one of the two, right? They literally select themselves out. And I love that, because we're literally in a room of action takers. And and I move quick. I mean, I make fast business decisions. I get on with whatever's next. I don't hum and haw about a lot of stuff. I take imperfect action. Thank God most of it's right, but that's the difference, is that I have that around me now, and I'm not a one-off, which is pretty
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
Yeah. And you look absolutely hot with your red lips. Sorry. I
Thank
just
you.
have to say that. I'm really digging it.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I've totally embraced me, and I like being bold. I like being a little badass.
No, I love
Actually, I
it.
like being very badass. So
But
thank
you
you.
are. You're a badass HR woman. I was going
Thank
to
you
say
very
bitch,
much.
but I didn't know if that did offend you. So
Ah, I have to be sometimes, but it's an act.
yeah. So what got you into all of this? Like just the basic lowdown of what got you into where you are right now in your space.
Oh man, how long is this?
I know. Short and sweet.
Bottom line it. So, I'll start with how I got into business. How's that? I was a senior human resource business professional. I had my dream job with ADP. I loved it. I was in a professional capacity, and it's everything that I worked hard for. I was engaged in business, which I always love. I've always been fascinated by business. I've also been fascinated by airplanes. So those two they don't cross until recently, and with flight. And so I really loved what I did, but there was no career path forward. So I went and I joined, and I became the director of human resources for a space agency here in Virginia. Did that for a couple of years, and then I went into government contracting as a VP of HR and did that for a short stint. Walked away from that for a couple of reasons, which I can't discuss. But I went, man, like, what am I going to do? And I was frustrated and I was stressed. I wasn't happy. I was miserable. I was still mourning the job that I loved. I was mourning. There were a lot of things about the job that I loved. I loved the travel. I loved staying at hotels. I loved looking nice. I loved my physique. I loved, being in my 40s and feeling hot. I loved it. I really did. And when I left that, I left all of that behind. And, I turned 45 5 years ago, and I wound up just being in a slump for a long time. As a result, there wasn't a career path forward. So I left, and I left this other job. And it's funny because I knew I was going to be okay. Leaving was a good thing. And that's one thing about me. I know I'm always going to be okay. Always, always, always. I have that level of confidence in myself. I'm going to be fine. So I became an Uber driver for a little while,
Nice.
just to work and think.
Yeah.
Right. That's all I wanted to do. I just wanted to work. I figured out the Uber business. It was interesting. And all I wanted to do is just drive and think. That was it. I didn't want any responsibility. I didn't want it. So then I went, like, after about a week of kind of decompressing from this stress position that I was in, and I was miserable, I started thinking to myself, it's like, all right, you got to move forward. Just go back to doing what you're good at. You go back, focus in on your gift. And so I thought, well, all right. So I reapplied for ADP. I got no. And so then I thought, well, screw it. I'm just going to go do consulting on my own. I've always wanted to.
Yeah.
And so I picked up the phone, called a couple of former clients, and the first day I had 2, and I completely replenished my income right there.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. So when they say, jump and life will catch you, I jumped, and it did. It caught me. And you get to that point where when you jump and life will catch you, one or two things, your parachute will either open up like mine did, or you're going to free fall and you're going to kind of bang into the walls a little bit. Eventually it will open up.
Yeah. And I'm glad that you're bringing that up, because I think this is really good, because I do have a lot of like females that join in on this and listen, and I have different talks. And the thing is that I think it's really good for women themselves to know, I mean, not even just women, but men themselves to know that it's okay if something doesn't feel right internally and you're not happy. The worst possible thing you could do is keep doing it, because it's whether it be God, whether it be the universe, whatever it may be that you believe in, that is somebody talking to you, telling you to get the hell out.
Right.
And that something is going to be better on the other side of it. And it's just trusting that and pushing through the fear, because it's the fear.
It is. It's the fear. It's also, there's some, and I'm glad you brought up women, because there's something very specific when it comes to the difference between men and women, and when it comes to career, because women, we don't take risks in career like men do typically, right? I'm not afraid to do it because, like I said, I'm going to be fine, right? I know that. Men are kind of like that as well. Men will look at a job description, they'll go, yeah, I can do that. And they have no idea how to do it. They'll go out, they'll crush it, right? That's just, to them, it's that level of challenge. For women, we tend to not take those challenges on because we assess whether we're qualified or not. Guys don't do that. They really don't.
I agree with that one.
It's like, you like, here, eat this tree. Yeah. You look at it like, here, eat this tree. And they go, okay. And then they go eat it, right? That's what they do. And we're not like that. We're very conservative in that manner. And we evaluate and we judge and we criticize ourselves to the point, like, I'm not really qualified. So when you look at what's going on in human resources, approximately 73%, is it 73 or 76%? I could be confusing it with a drone statistic, but it's right around the same. Anyway, or feminine, it is a feminine driven industry. And so about 73%, 76% of the workforce in HR are women. But here's something really interesting. 43% are males and that are executives.
Huh.
Because that challenge, it's innate for them to climb up, right? That's what they do. Women will stop at a certain point, and either they don't want to pursue the CHRO role or, the vice president role, or they opt out because, again, a feminine driven industry. And then, we're the ones having babies. So, then there's a choice of family. So it's really interesting. So when you get to that executive level, that's when the scale tips. It's still a feminine driven industry, but 46% are men.
Wow.
Yes. It's kind of an interesting fact in HR, but yeah, women are very, everybody's quick to get into a scarcity mindset. That's kind of the line that women go down, is that they get into a scarcity mindset by looking at themselves saying, I'm not qualified.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's a scarcity mindset. Instead of saying, I can do that. Now I have to figure out, how do we get there?
What do you feel like is different from men and women, that women tend to be more like that? Because it's true. If you look at our executive level, right? Mm-hmm. There's really not a whole lot of men, right?
Yeah.
It's more men. Yeah. And the women that are in there, like, we should really be having penises because we're like more alpha male than your average female because we're driven, right? Yeah. So I wonder what makes that, if it's just a feminine quality and maybe we're born with more of a masculine quality in form of like being assertive.
Well, first off, I'm glad I don't have one because I don't think that would be a good look on
I don't want one. They would get in my way. Like, yeah, we ride a bike and stuff. And
see, it's another appendage we don't want. Anyway,
have you ever seen that thing with, I think it is an elephant. He's doing this with his nose.
Oh yeah.
Then that'd be me. All right, I'm done. Sorry.
Yeah, sure you are. Okay. Anyway, to answer the question, I think majority of people are more beta or omega than anything else. Right? I think we all have levels of alpha. And alpha isn't necessarily, I think people also equate alpha with being like overbearing. Mm-hmm. And that's not what alpha is. That's alpha as an alpha obnoxious. There's alpha and there's a real strong sense of who we are. And that's that's something that I suppressed for a very long time. I've always had an alpha personality. I was always squashed, saying that I'm too hard, I'm too edgy. People are thinking about you this way. And growing up, I wanted to be liked really bad. I didn't have a lot of friends. And so being of that alpha aspect and being snuffed, I mean, my God, no wonder I felt as crappy as I did growing up, because I wasn't living who I was. And of course that came from influences in my personal life.
Yeah.
So I think we all have these qualities. I mean, if you look at kids, there's a lot of alpha kids out there, but then as life goes on, like life kind of starts to put us in, it presents our challenges, and we decide where we want to go with it at a very young age.
I
You
call it
know,
thought seeds. That is
yeah,
my big thing when I coach people. I say, what is your thought seed? Because a lot of times it's a seed that was implanted in our childhood,
right.
and
And
we've grown to think that of ourselves.
yeah, there's a little boy that I love watching him on Instagram, and his dad is a team guy. His dad's a SEAL, and his mom is, she's a model. And man, they encourage him to just be bold, just get after it. And it's so awesome. And then when you look at him, he's for a 4-year-old, he's a well-rounded kid. He's a good boy. They're teaching him aspects of faith, but man, they are teaching him, do not be afraid, take it on, be outrageous, and he's going to be a success in life. He's not going to fall to the pitfalls of drugs and alcohol and all that. I mean, really is. I don't think he will, because that's their way of nourishing him. And he's got a great attitude, and he's always smiling, and and then he's a typical 4-year-old little boy as well. But so we have that in us. And so I think, getting back to the whole alpha conversation, is that I think once we recognize, we always have a choice to recognize whether or not to stay. And some people don't realize that they have the choice.
Yeah.
And that's the shame. And so I spent a good 12 years breaking my cycles, breaking these bad behaviors. And you know what? There's still things that I'm learning about myself every day as I grow older. I mean, I'm turning 50 this year. And, last week I was, in my head about something that I noticed that my folks did. And then when I turned around and looked at myself, and I went, really? But that's the thing, is that I keep an awareness of who I am. And when I constantly look at behaviors, I take it on. Like, am I really this way, or am I just beating myself up?
Yeah.
And I'm very, very straightforward with myself, even to the point where it's like, okay, I'm I don't want to behave. I don't want to do it this way. I know I don't. I'm making a decision, put it aside and move forward. Right.
How do you change that pattern for yourself? Because I know that's hard for somebody. Like,
It is.
Yeah. How do you
So,
call yourself out on it?
well, I've taken on, because I started this project with myself 12 years ago, I got really committed to always being honest with myself and not fooling myself. Right. And it's funny, because I don't really talk to a lot of people when I'm working things out, because then everybody starts to implant what they believe on you when you're trying to wrangle with the consciousness that's coming from your subconscious. Right. And, there are times where I've had to get a form of help, not counseling, but I actually did wind up doing what was called Evox. And Evox is a way of actually measuring your bioelectric energy, and based off, like, your body retains memories, right? It's in your tissues. It's not just in your psyche, it's in your tissue. And so there's certain, after a lot of studies, there's an amazing study, it's called Messages from the Body. There's a book. And when you have certain types of physical ailments, those organs actually retain memories or trauma or knowledge, right, from your growing up. And so I started to see a very consistent pattern of how these things were coming up. And through the process of just acknowledging it, and this technology brought it forward, I acknowledged it and resolved it. And so that has kind of retrained me to be very present with how I am about things. When I see something that I don't like, just it's okay to acknowledge it, right? Just, admit to yourself that you're doing it, because really you're the only one that can hear it in your head, right? You do that. And then that brings you like this awareness of how you can actually change your behavior. So when you stop doing something, right? So several months ago, I got into a habit and I'm breaking it. I haven't fully broken it, so I'm being honest about that, but it's breaking. And I used to go to McDonald's and I used to get a hot fudge sundae. Right. It was a treat. And then I got into a roll. Then I got into not a melatonin, but a serotonin cycle. Now I can't break it. Now I have to force myself to break. That's very blunt and honest with yourself, but I'm not hard on myself for it. I just recognize it. And every time I go and get one, I recognize, even I sit up at the drive-thru, and I'll be very honest. I sit at that drive-thru and go, I've got a choice right now to leave or to move forward. And I'm choosing to move forward. And not because I have a drive or hunger or thirst, is because I'm making the conscious choice to do so.
Yeah.
And I leave it at that, right? It's a choice, it's a decision. And I don't come home and I don't beat myself up for doing something that's out of my control.
Yeah.
So I've taken back the control that way. And now the next step in the breaking it is to make the right choice. And for the first time in a long time, I did the other day. I made the right choice. I walked away, or I drove away, really.
Yeah.
So, it's not complicated. And we make it more complicated because we have all this chatter in our heads. So it's a lot about making a decision, really like being okay with it. And then once you acknowledge it, man, you're already past it.
Yeah.
But you have to work on, to my friend down in Australia, she's got this, I love this term. It's called the itty bitty shitty committee. It's in your head. It's that voice that, second guesses everything that you do. It's the voice that we fall victim to all the time. I have it too. Imposter syndrome is an example that comes up quite a bit now. That's kind of like our societal buzzword, but it's a very real thing at the same time.
Yeah.
But again, it's a choice, and you don't have to put pressure on yourself. You just look at it and like, all right, I'm either going to eat this leafy thing or I'm going to eat this ice creamy thing.
Yeah.
And the decision that I make is the decision I make, and be done with it. And you won't go through all this banging yourself up, because once you develop that, then you realize that you can choose anything as you go.
Amen.
And I just made another choice today of doing something that I absolutely hate doing, but there's a greater benefit to my doing it now rather than the cost of not doing it.
Yeah. What would you tell your younger version of you if you were looking back with your life of changes that you would make, maybe with your career or going forward, those little changes that you wish that maybe you would have done? Is there anything that you would tell someone going through a situation maybe that you're going through now with the transition of maybe going self-employed by themselves or entrepreneur route?
Actually, the first thing that came to my mind was going back to when I turned 45, because I had a goal at 45 to have something specific, and I didn't have it. And I beat myself up horrifically as a result of that. And it launched me into a several year downslide. And I started to compromise myself. I lost my confidence in myself, and I gave up. And so, coming back from a give up it's an onward, upward thing, right? It takes you a while. It's not like just something you can do. It's a process. And so some people could say that, well, I wasted the last 5 years because I gave up and I stopped short. Or the way I look at it is like, okay, I gave up and I stopped short, but we're nowhere near the person I was 5 years ago. Because even though I took a pause on working on myself, even though I took a pause on making life better, I decided at some point in time to pick that up and get after it again. And then I found myself really working to set new boundaries. And I started getting rid of people that didn't help me in my life. I was constantly giving back to a community that appreciated it. And I started to kind of find this magical combination for myself that keeps me going. And now that I'm on a higher level thinking than I ever have been before.
Yeah.
And I'm very, very clear on bullshit thinking. And I just don't go down that road anymore. And when bullshit thinking starts coming up, I've also now to a point where I call it out,
Yeah.
not only in myself, but with other people. And I'm like, that's not right. That's what an alpha does.
Yep. Yeah.
That's absolutely what an alpha does. And so I squashed my alpha. Life squashed my alpha. My alpha fought back, and she's here forever. Not going to go anywhere. Not going to happen.
Where do you see yourself in another 5 years? Where does Brenda want to be?
I don't want to look at 5 years because it means I'll be 55. I'm not ready to admit I don't want to be 55. I want to go back. I wish I could. I wish I could go back to 45, and I wish I could fix things. But you know what? If I did that, I wouldn't be who I am right now. So I appreciate that. I have no idea who I'm going to be when I'm 55, right? I really don't. And I don't want to forecast that. I don't want to make the same mistake that I did when I was 40 and set this goal to get to what I wanted to get when I was 45, to do the same thing at 50. I'm just like, you know what? I'm here right now. Everything that I'm doing right now is setting my future up for success. And that's just the mindset that I keep. Because I have no idea what's going to happen tomorrow, except I'm going to win.
I'm excited to see what's going to happen the next 5 years because
me too.
I know it's going to be phenomenal. I already know that. So before we end this, I want to ask you one question that I ask everybody else. So WTF is beauty to you? What the fuck is beauty to you?
I think beauty is a combination of what's on. It starts from the inside and it's how you carry it on the outside.
Yeah.
And I think you can define it. Like I can see, like there's one person in particular that I think of who I think is drop dead gorgeous. She's absolutely beautiful. But there are personal characteristics that I don't find appealing. Some of them, right? Just a little too out there for my level of taste. So I don't see that whole package as being
beautiful.
Yeah. I see the external package as being amazing. And then when I look at myself, I definitely see it on the inside because I know what I do in life and I know who I help, right? And you know, that's God's will right there. That's God's will working. And for that I'm very proud of and I'm very happy about. But when I look on the outside of it, it doesn't to me align, but you know what? There are other things on the outside that does. So I think it has to be, it's a combination of, it starts on the inside and it works its way out.
Yeah.
And I think I'm in that transition piece to where what's on the inside is definitely coming out more. That's what I think beauty is.
It is. You can be beautiful, but not inside by any means.
Yeah, exactly.
I've seen a lot of that.
Yeah. That's like somebody serving you a porterhouse steak on a garbage can lid.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not very appetizing, is it?
No.
Not at all.
Where can all of the viewers find you?
Absolutely. You can find me over on BrendaTheHRLady.com. I do, if you're in the field of HR, if you want to learn more about how to get the people side of your business right, I do have a website, a podcast. It's called The Best Practices in Human Resources. You can find it on Apple, you can find it on Stitcher and iHeartRadio.
And also, if you don't follow her on Clubhouse, she is phenomenal. So her Clubhouse is rocking. So definitely, what's your Clubhouse? Is it just Brenda?
All my socials, the Brenda, the HR lady, with the exception of LinkedIn, because they don't let you do that. It's my name, Brenda Neckvatal. Clubhouse is still Brenda the HR lady. I am the founder of the HR club. We've got like over 13,000 members in that club. It's active. I'm in there easily 5, 6, 7 times a week, doing my thing. So
yeah,
we talk a lot about what's going on in employment law, and it's changing. Like, holy
drastically.
cow. Buckle up. Yeah.
Yeah. No, good. So I'm glad. So anybody who actually owns a business, in a business, HR, this is your woman. This is the girl to go to. Whenever I have questions, I dial her phone number right away. Thankfully, she's my friend, so I don't have to sit there and wait for her to call me back. So with that said, thank you. Thank you for coming on. And again, you guys, please rate, review, share, check out Brenda. We're going to be posting about her anyway when we post on our social media, all the links, every single platform that we have to, do now. So seriously, what is it like? It's like YouTube,
oh my gosh,
Instagram, Facebook, our groups. I'm like, oh my Lord, have mercy. But
I know I have not embraced TikTok. So that's the one. I mean, I'm there, but I don't do anything with it.
No, I haven't either. I know. So
that's a filthy place.
Some of it's funny.
Pretty bad. It's pretty bad.
I know. Well, thank you, my love. I appreciate everything. And hope you guys have a phenomenal week, and we'll get back to you next week. Thanks for turning in this week. I hope that you thoroughly enjoyed this episode, and I hope you're feeling stronger mentally and physically and ready to kick some ass. As we navigate new society norms, business and beauty breakthroughs, make sure to always ask yourself, what the fuck is beauty to me? And know that's all that really matters. If you love this content today, make sure to subscribe, rate, and review. Follow me and get more info on how to work with me at jencarrasco.com. You can also find me on all of your favorite social media platforms. Now just remember, stay mentally tough.